Magandang araw, Malacañang Press Corps. Kasama po natin ngayong tanghali si ang Press Secretary, Attorney Trixie Cruz-Angeles at Department of Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman. Secretary, good afternoon po.
Magandang hapon. Maraming salamat, Yusek Reggie. Magandang hapon, Malacañang Press Corps. Ang briefing po na ito ay primarily para makapagpresenta si Secretary Amena Pangandaman na tungkol sa budget for 2023. You can direct questions to her after her presentation. Andito din po kami kung mayroon kayong ibang katanungan on other topics. In the meantime, ating Budget Secretary, Madam Amena Pangandaman.
Thank you, Sec Trixie, and thank you, Sec Greg. Good afternoon to all. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about the National Expenditure Program for 2023. Let me begin with our mindset as we developed the NEP. We wanted a budget that is responsive to every need of every Filipino. This guided every decision we had to make in making the NEP. With that in mind, the DBM evaluated a total of 8.66 trillion worth of agency budget proposals for 2023. And in doing so, we considered the DBTC approved expenditure ceiling of 5.268 trillion. That said, the proposed budget is 4.9% higher than this year's budget and is equivalent to 22.2% of GDP. Its theme, Agenda for Prosperity, Economic Transformation Towards Inclusivity and Sustainability. To reflect the theme, here are the top 10 departments based on allocation. Please note that except for the education sector, the budget for this department is net of their personal services requirements. This ranking nevertheless reflects the administration's priorities. Next are the top 10 departments ranked based on their percentage increase relative to the fiscal 2022 GAA. Again, except for the education sector, the budget for this department is net of their personal services requirements. As you can see, the highest budget increase went to transportation with a 147.7% increase and to agriculture with a 42.7% increase. Again, this reflects the administration's priority sectors. The proposed national budget is tailor-fit according to the 8-point socioeconomic agenda and is anchored on these pillars: strengthening the purchasing power of Filipinos, reducing vulnerability and mitigating the scarring from COVID-19 pandemic, and last, ensuring sound macroeconomic fundamentals and supporting local government. Let me discuss each one. The first pillar aims to strengthen the purchasing power of the Filipinos. Hence, the fiscal 2023 proposed national budget includes programs that will ensure the affordability and accessibility of basic goods and services. To ensure food security, the Department of Agriculture's banner program will receive a larger share in the 2023 compared to its current budget. In particular, the provision for the National Rice Program almost doubled at 13.55 billion from 15.77 billion. The increase is largely due to the 19.48 billion budget for the expansion of fertilizer support to make fertilizers more accessible to rice farmers to prevent production losses. This will be complemented by the 10 billion Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund, or RCEP, half of which will be dedicated to driving farm mechanization pursuant to RA 11203, or the Rice Liberalization Act, to improve the competitiveness of local rice farmers and increase their income. The production of other commodities such as corn, livestock, fisheries, and high-value crops will also be supported with higher budget next year. We will also support shovel-ready infrastructure programs under the Build Better More program to propel growth in agriculture, trade, tourism sectors, and eventually reduce transport and logistics costs. A total of 1.196 trillion is allocated for this program and is equivalent to 5% of GDP. This is within the target of 5 to 6% of GDP annual appropriation for infrastructure. The infrastructure program is projected to average at 5.5% of GDP for the next 6 years, 2022 to 2028. Also presented are the top 10 departments receiving bulk of the proposed infrastructure budget, with DPWH and DOTR leading the list. A significant amount is also provided for social infrastructure, covering hospital and health centers, school buildings, and housing community facilities. Similarly, for the agriculture and environmental sector, support will be provided for irrigation systems and reforestation projects. Finally, the Department of Energy will receive a total of 2.2 billion in 2023. For its program of this amount, 476 million will be used for its renewable energy development program, energy efficiency and conservation program, and alternative fuels and technologies program. To reduce our vulnerability and mitigate the scarring from COVID-19 pandemic, healthcare, social services, and safe face-to-face classes are our priorities. The government will be providing around 206.5 billion of ayuda under the proposed 2023 budget. This is composed of the cash transfer and other subsidy programs by various agencies. 165.4 billion pesos under the DSWD for the implementation of various social assistance programs. 22.39 billion pesos will be provided for the implementation of the medical assistance to indigent and financially incapacitated patients or MAIC with the Department of Health. Meanwhile, the SUPAD program of the Department of Labor and Employment will be provided by 14.9 billion for next year. The 2.5 billion will be provided to the Department of Transportation for the provision of fuel subsidies to the transport sector. Finally, 1 billion will be provided to the Department of Agriculture for the provision of financial subsidy and fuel subsidies to rice and corn farmers and fisherfolk. Abiding by the Constitution and reflecting the President's commitment to invest in human capital development and empower the youth, the education sector will receive the highest allocation, 852.8 billion, covering the Department of Education, state universities and colleges, CHED, and Technical Education, Skills and Development Authority, etc. With the Department of Education's allocation, we hope to implement continued face-to-face learning. We will achieve this through the construction of new classrooms and education facilities under the Basic Education Facilities Program with 9.8 billion, and a provision of learning materials through the Flexible Learning Options Program of 19.95 billion. Students will also continue to receive subsidies and education assistance to help them pursue senior high school and tech box courses with 54.9 billion. We will likewise prioritize funding for universal access to quality tertiary education programs with 47.4 billion, which will provide free tuition fees and other school fees to college students who will eventually constitute the country's workforce. But human capital development must be accompanied by a strong healthcare system that can withstand unprecedented changes. Therefore, the Universal Healthcare Program will continuously be a budget priority. To strengthen our healthcare system, 23 billion pesos will be allocated for DOH Health Facilities Enhancement Program or HPEP to continue access to healthcare services through the construction, rehabilitation, and upgrading of health facilities and the purchase of medical equipment, while 720 million pesos is allocated for the National Surveillance Network that will include transitioning of the COVID-19 surveillance system to regular surveillance activities and redesigning the health statistical systems and programs to better address data and information needs. Prevention and control of communicable diseases is provided with 5.84 billion pesos, while 22 billion is provided for the procurement of vaccines under the fiscal year 2023 and program appropriation. Along with human capital development, we must take care of those most vulnerable in global inflation. As such, the Department of Social Welfare and Development will receive 197 billion to address the needs of the poor and marginalized among other targeted sectors of the economy. This includes the proposed increase of the budget allocation for the Pantawid Pamilya Filipino program. As we take care of our people, it's equally important to take care of our environment. As such, mobilizing resources that enhance resilience and promote low carbon development is a key agenda of the government. In pursuit of this, the budget for climate change mitigation will reach 453.11 million in 2023. This is equivalent to 8.6% of the total proposed budget. This is significantly higher by 56.4% than this year's allocation of 289.73 billion or 5.8% of the budget. The results of the climate change expenditure tagging show that water sufficiency projects have been prioritized with 264.89 billion. Meanwhile, funding for sustainable energy and food security remains substantial at 131.5 billion and 40.78 billion respectively. Please note that the climate change expenditures have increased in recent years. It grew by an average of 21.3% from 2015 to 2023, much faster than the average annual growth rate of the total national government expenditures of 10.5%. To support climate change mitigation and adaptation programs, the following programs have been tagged as climate change expenditure. The DPWH Flood Management Program is 168.9 billion for the construction and maintenance of flood mitigating structures and drainage systems, and for the flood mitigating facilities along major and principal rivers. The DNR's National Greening Program with 2.49 billion, and the Protected Areas Development and Management Program with 94.72 million. Further, in support of the LGU's efforts in protecting their respective coastal areas, the national government, through the DNR, likewise provides 246.12 million for the management of coastal and marine resources area. Now, for the government to better implement this plan, we must make changes within the bureaucracy. Towards this end, we will prioritize digitalization and accelerate digital transformation. Thus, we have allotted sub 12.4 billion to fund ICT projects throughout the bureaucracy. The improvement of revenue collection through digitalization will also be a priority, as the DOF and its attached agencies, BIR and DOC, will receive 3.56 billion, or equivalent to 28.6% of the total ICT proposed budget for their digital transformation program. On DBM's end, we have a budget reform agenda. Foremost is the digitalization of the economy with the rollout of the Budget and Treasury Management System, or BTMS, in all agencies. We will likewise enhance bureaucratic efficiency through the institutionalization of the cash budgeting system. Our economic transformation agenda also contemplates full devolution of local government needs. This allows them to directly implement programs and interventions tailor-fit to the needs of their constituents. These programs are just a few of many. You may refer to our digital NEP kit for more details. It includes the President's budget message and the 2023 People's Proposed Budget at a glance. Let me leave you with its final words. With this budget, we want every Filipino, especially our farmers, fisherfolk, laborers, and those who are marginalized to not just survive, but to reap the benefits of economic growth and national progress in their everyday lives. Maraming salamat po.
Okay. Sec Pangandaman, for our first question from Anjo Alimario of CNN Philippines. Andiyan ba si Anjo? Second question po niya, hindi ba maapektuhan nung napakalaking requirement for debt servicing ang implementation ng mga priority programs and projects?
With our MPFF po, we will try to consolidate our fiscal program. So with the fiscal program po, we wanted to sana to bring back our debt rate to 60% of 60% from I think now it's uh, 63%, no? 65%. So, of the total amount po ng debt servicing natin, 11.6% lang po yan ng budget or yung 611 billion ang ating debt burden because yung 1.2 trillion po, that's automatically appropriated po. While it is higher by 12.9% compared to this year's 541.3 billion due to our previous borrowing brought about by the pandemic, big chunk pa rin po of the budget will still go to our priority programs and projects of the national government.
Thank you, Sec. For second question, from Maricel Halili, TV5.
Hi, Sec. Magandang hapon po. Ma'am, si Congressman Ralph Recto, he mentioned about 588 billion pesos shades of gray doon sa 2023 budget. He was actually referring to unprogrammed funds na hindi raw itemized. So can you clarify this, Sec? Bakit hindi naka-itemized ito? Para saan ba itong unprogrammed funds?
The total unprogrammed funds po for 2023 is 588.21 billion. Meron po itong detalye. 5 million po will go to AFP Modernization Program. 20.7 billion po will go to budgetary support to GOCC. Ito po yung mga conversion ng national government advances into subsidy to GOCC. Support to foreign assistance projects po, mostly po, these are DOTR, foreign assisted projects with a total amount of 380.6 billion po. Risk management program, 1 billion. Payment arrears to LTO IT services, 2 billion. And refund of the service development fee to the right to develop ng PDA property in Tokyo, 0.02 billion. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Equity Infusion for 21 to RA 11211, that's 10 billion pesos. Public Health Emergency Benefits Allowances for healthcare and non-healthcare workers, 19 billion. Now, mayroon pong balanse yan na 149.7 billion. Ito po yung support for infrastructure projects and social programs. Ito po ay nakadivide between MOE and capital outlay. Ang mga proyekto po na nilalagay natin dito, ito po yung mga proyekto na hindi pa po natin alam na mangyayari. Katulad po nung nagkaroon tayo ng pandemic or nung nagkaroon po ng increase nagkaroon po ng fuel hike, dito po natin kinuha po yung pondo para sa pagbibigay ng free bus carousel natin, additional funding po for our ayuda, and even po yung pagpapatayo natin ng mga clinics or yung mga services po sa health sector ng panahon po ng pandemic. I think the unprogrammed fund for is actually itemized po for transparency for everyone.
Ma'am, just a clarification. So meaning yung unprogrammed funds po allotted siya just in case there's an emergency or crisis like what we have experienced.
Pwede po siya kung meron pong hindi tayo inaasahan ng pangyayari po para po pandemic or yung mga proyekto po dito na in-identify natin pag nagkaroon po tayo ng extra revenue po from DOF, from BIR or Bureau of Customs, pwede rin po mag-trigger ng release ng mga proyekto po dito.
All right. Thank you, Sec.
Okay, thank you. Next question, Vance Fernandez of Police Tonight. Miss Vance? Okay. Okay, question po ni Miss Vance. Secretary Pangandaman, ang question po niya, bakit po na-slash ang budget para sa UP, PGH? Pwede po ba ito taasan pati na rin po yung budget for building ng classrooms for DepEd? Ano po ba ang absorptive capacity ng DepEd?
For the UP system po at UP PGH, if we will compare po the budget from 2022 GAA to 2023 NEP, nagkaroon po ito ng reduction. Sa UP system po, 9.8% at saka sa UP PGH po, 5.5%. However po, yung reduction po kasi na ito po yung mga Congress introduced changes and adjustments and yung mga non-recurring programs and projects po. Ibig po sabihin, ito yung mga one-time purchase po. For example po sa UPPGH, kung bibili po tayo ng mga equipment po, kunyari X-ray machine or similar medical equipment po, one time lang po ito binibili. Hindi po ito kailangan po doon sa susunod na taon pag ito po ay nagamit na.
Okay, thank you, Sec. Sec Pangandaman, we have also questions from Celerina of NHK. Sabi po niya, included ba ang allocation for the revival of Bataan Nuclear Power Plant? If so, how much?
For the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant, wala po tayo sa budget.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, may
Sec.
pahabol din pong question dito, Sec. Ano po ang stand ninyo sa abolition ng PSDBM? Na-mention po ninyo sa Congress hearing na nakapag-generate ng savings ang PSDBM sa paanong paraan po?
Again po, I'll just be consistent with my previous pronouncement po. I differ po to the wisdom of the Congress po if they wish to abolish. But again po, sana po with the new leadership po of Attorney Dennis Santiago, is a known procurement practitioner po and his advocacy po talaga from the very beginning when he started his career is on procurement po. In fact, he was part in crafting of the GPRA po yung procurement law po natin. Nung time po ni Secretary Jokno, I was an undersecretary during the time. I remember, which I also mentioned during the hearing in Congress, that during the time po, nagkaroon po tayo ng savings sa PSDBM na worth 18 billion po, which was actually returned po yan sa ating national government coffers. So I think if we will just, again, clean po, maayos po yung procurement process, system, and in fact, si Attorney Dennis Santiago po nag-issue na that we will concentrate po muna on the major mandate po ng PSDBM, which is to procure po yung mga non-common use supplies. So siguro po we will concentrate on that. And then we will use e-procurement and e-shopping po and for our procurement in the national government para po maging transparent. We can do live streaming po. At isa po is siguro kasama din dito is yung pag-aayos po ng buong sistema ng pagpo-procure together with GPPB po. Kasi po yung GPPB po is another attached agency po ng DBM na siya po ang nag-aayos po ng IRR ng Government Procurement Act.
Sec, last question from Ted Cordero ng GMA News Online. Kailan nyo po daw isasubmit yung proposed right-sizing bill?
We already provided po the Congress yung right-sizing bills po natin. In fact, we have a few senators po who already filed the bill. I think Senator Escudero already filed the bill. In the House po, meron din po mga 3 na po yatang nag-file. So, I think pag na-refer na po ito sa proper committee, we will be more than happy po to be present during their committee hearings and deliberations.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Secretary Amena Pangandaman ng DBM. Ngayon naman, we will open the floor for few questions kay Press Secretary Attorney Trixie Cruz-Angeles.
Thank you.
Cap Domingo ng ABS-CBN.
Secretary Trixie, good afternoon. Ma'am, Cebu City Mayor Mike, hello ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, Cebu City Mayor Mike Rama signed an executive order today that removes the mandatory wearing of face masks in Cebu City. Your reaction, please?
I'm sorry, requiring mandatory.
He signed an executive order that removes the mandatory wearing of face masks. So, hindi na po mandatory yung pagsusuot ng face masks in Cebu.
We respect the mandate of local governments over their own jurisdictions. The President has no reaction to this as of yet.
Ma'am, so the follow-up question lang po. So there will be no issues with the DOH because the last time this happened, it was an issue against Governor Gwen Garcia. So how do we avoid another confusion similar to what happened before?
Like I said, there is no reaction yet from the palace on this one. It may be taken under advisement, although we do respect the mandates of local governments over their own jurisdictions. If this is brought up, then we will make such an announcement. We're also waiting for the reaction of the DOH on this one. So without all of that information coming in, there will be no statement yet.
Salamat po.
Thank you, Kat. Next question, Secretary kay Ana Felicia ng GMA News Online. Update lang po sa probe regarding doon sa alleged forged appointment paper.
I'm sorry, what is the question?
Update daw po doon sa alleged forged appointment paper. Any update?
Well, as of yesterday afternoon, I was informed by Secretary Boying Remulla that the NBI has already commenced their investigation. We're waiting to hear from the CIDG.
Okay, any other questions from MPC? Mukhang okay na yata lahat, Secretary.
While we're here, we may as well announce, we sent out a statement
Go ahead.
earlier. Yusek Greggy, with your indulgence. Okay. We'd like to announce the following appointments today. The following have been appointed to the Cybercrimes Investigation and Coordinating Center under the Department of Information and Communications Technology. Alexander K. Ramos is now the new Executive Director. The Deputy Executive Director is Mary Rose E. Magsaysay. Patricia May M. Abejo is Director 4. Rojun Josilios, also Director 4, and Alvin Miro Navarro, Director 4. So ulitin ko po, these are for CICC, the Cybercrimes Investigation and Coordinating Center under the Department of Information and Communications Technology.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Press Secretary Attorney Trixie Cruz-Angeles. Maraming salamat Malacañang Press Corps.